Hello, today I'm going to be talking about the side tower, which is one of 4 minigames unlocked after clearing 3b6, inserting the 4 colored keys in this warp, and shooting the button. Side tower consists of 30 floors, and after clearing all 30 you'll unlock an item. As you make your way through these 30 floors, you'll also encounter 6 buttons, one every 5 floors. Depending on which and how many of these buttons you press, you will get different rewards in the bonus room, and to access the bonus room, you either have to clear the entire tower, or lose all your lives, which you have 10 of. As I make my way through this tower, I'll be talking about good strats for certain jumps, and also mention good aligns for jumps. So for example, for this jump, you want the align you start with, because that's good for both the diagonals. So nothing to worry about there. The optional achievement in the tower is clearing all 30 floors, while also hitting all 6 buttons. For this gate, it would make sense to jump through and then bonk here, because that way there's no risk of falling in this gap, but if you notice you 5 frame, there's no risk as well. For this jump, you just walk off and then full jump. You have 2 frames to do it. The general good advice for this tower is to take your time. There are lots of jumps that you should line up for. I will not be lining up for many though, because I've gone through this tower a few times, and also, for the sake of demonstration, I don't want to waste your time. Which means I might take a bunch of silly hits, but I should clear the entire tower. This is the first tricky room. Those jumps are tough, and it's easy to take silly hits on the diagonals. Your line for these doesn't really matter because they're all set up. For this room, I'm going to briefly mention Ixu strat, which is to take a guaranteed hit here to not have to do the top part. Personally, I'd recommend doing the top part, because I often do it without getting hit, but it's worth mentioning. Full jump through that gate after walking off. Oh, for this room, do not touch this wall or this wall. The line you start with is a good one. You want to line yourself up right next to the spike, and then you have to do one of the hardest jumps in the tower. You have to press right and jump on the same frame. There, I pressed right a frame early. If you press right a frame early, you get hit out by this spike. But if you press shift a frame early, you'll bonk and likely run into 2 to 4 of these spikes, which means an automatic restart. It's arguably the hardest part of the tower, even though it might seem silly. You can lose so many lives there. Take this line for the diagonals. If I was doing an actual attempt, I would have probably reset by now, but I've made my way through the tower a few times. Take this line for the T-bone, as it's the walk-off. Take this line for both diagonals. Do not take any aligns here. You spawn with the good align for the T-bone, which is the walk-off. So don't touch any walls, and then walk off. Then full jump into this, and you have the walk-off for that as well. Of course, it'd be more important if I didn't get hit like that. Oh, also, the good align for this diagonal is this wall, but I just touched this wall as I'm making my way to it. Good align. This is another tricky room. Full jump through that T-bone, walk off here, which this is the walk off. Here you can either do the diagonals or jump over these spikes. Personally I jump over, but it's up to you. Stand around the middle and do 2 full jumps. That's a good line for the diagonals. Heck. I rarely get hit there. This is the last room of the tower. For this drop gate, treat it like there's a gate here, so do a 4 or 5 frame, and then 4 or 5 frame through this one. I don't actually think I've ever died by that gate. It's a very easy setup. Here, you have to do a 5 frame to make it over this spike. If you do a 4 frame or bonk and you notice, you can fall down here and save yourself. This is a good align for this diagonal. And then that's the entire tower with every button hit. As you saw, I made a bunch of silly mistakes during that, but I made it fine. It's not too hard of a tower, but there are a lot of like places you can easily mess up on, which is the difficulty because it spans, 30 floors. And by doing all that, you get this item. What does it do? That's a secret. Shh.